The champagne flute slipped from Elizabeth's fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the grand ballroom like a gunshot in the hush of New York's elite. Her mother's voice, crisp, commanding, echoing from the podium, proclaimed another merger. Another empire expanded. But Elizabeth heard none of it. All she saw was Sophia across the sea of tuxedos and gowns, those dark eyes locking onto hers with the weight of stolen nights. In that frozen instant, Elizabeth knew the secret they had buried under Manhattan's relentless skyline was clawing its way to the surface, and no amount of her mother's media machinery could silence it forever. Elizabeth Harper had always been the perfect daughter on paper, valedictorian at Yale, junior editor at her mother's glossy empire of magazines and cable networks, the face that smiled from society pages without a single crack in the facade. But beneath the tailored suits and rehearsed poise, she was a storm held at bay. Her heart a locked vault where desires dared not breathe. That night in the ballroom, as crystal shards glittered underfoot like fallen stars, the vault began to fracture. Sophia Reyes had slipped into the gala like a shadow in stilettos, her invitation a favor from a contact at one of Vivian Harper's rival outlets. 32. Sophia was a freelance investigative journalist with a reputation for unearthing truths that made tycoons sweat, stories of corporate greed, silenced voices, the underbelly of the city that never slept. Her olive skin glowed under the chandeliers, her black hair pulled into a sleek chignon that accentuated the fierce curve of her jaw, and her emerald gown hugged her athletic frame like a second skin, modest yet unapologetic. She wasn't here for the free view of Clickwhat. She was hunting a lead on Vivian's latest acquisition, whispers of antitrust violations buried in offshore accounts. Their eyes met across the room, and time stuttered. Elizabeth, mid-conversation with a cluster of advertisers, men in their 50s droning about ad revenue metrics, felt the air thicken, her pulse a sudden drumbeat against her ribs. Sophia didn't smile, didn't wave, she just held the gaze, a silent acknowledgement that said, "I see you. The real you." Elizabeth excused herself, murmuring something about the powder room, her heels clicking a frantic rhythm over the polished floor. She wove through the crowd, past the laughter that rang too loud, the clink of glasses like mocking applause. By the time she reached the balcony doors, the cool October air hit her like a slap, carrying the distant hum of taxis and the faint rot of the East River. Sophia was already there, leaning against the railing, a cigarette unlit between her fingers, more prop than habit. "You dropped your glass," Sophia said, her voice low and laced with amusement, the faint trace of a Brooklyn accent curling the edges. "Dramatic exit. Harper. Your mother's going to bill you for the cleanup." Elizabeth laughed, a sound that surprised her, unguarded, bubbling up from a place she had forgotten existed. She'd probably spin it into a feature, heiress's symbolic shatter, breaking barriers in business. Front page of Verve. She stepped closer, the balcony's edge pressing into her back, the city sprawl below a glittering distraction. Close. Sophia smelled of jasmine and ink, the kind that stained your fingers after late-night edits. They talked for an hour, or what felt like it, the gala's murmur fading to white noise. Sophia probed gently at first. Questions about Vivian's empire disguised as casual curiosity, the pressure of boardroom battles, the isolation of being the golden child. Elizabeth deflected with wit, but the words spilled anyway. Truth she had never voiced. "It's like living in a glass house," she confessed, staring at the skyline where the Empire State Building pierced the night like a needle. "Everyone admires the view, but one stone, and it all comes down." Sophia's eyes softened, Not with pity, but recognition. I've thrown a few stones in my time. They build walls to keep the mess out, but the cracks let the light in. She lit the cigarette then, the flame flickering gold against her cheek, and offered it to Elizabeth. Their fingers brushed, a spark, electric and forbidden, and Elizabeth inhaled deeply, the smoke curling into her lungs like a secret shared. Inside, Vivian Harper commanded the room. Her silver hair swept into an impeccable chignon, her crimson gown a statement of unyielding power. 58. She was the queen of New York's media landscape, founder of Harper Media Group, a conglomerate that shaped narratives from fashion spreads to primetime exposés. Divorced twice, mother to one, she had molded Elizabeth in her image, ambitious, untouchable, the heir apparent who would one day inherit the throne. But Vivian's control extended beyond boardrooms. She curated Elizabeth's life like a feature story, scripting dates with suitable men, vetting friendships, ensuring no scandal tarnished the brand. As Elizabeth re-entered the ballroom, cheeks flushed from more than the chill, Vivian's gaze found her immediately, sharp as a headline. "Darling," she purred, drawing Elizabeth into a circle of investors. "You vanished. Tell Mr. Langford about that piece you pitched on sustainable luxury." Elizabeth complied, her voice steady, but her mind replayed the balcony's intimacy, Sophia's laugh, the way her hand had lingered on the railing inches from Elizabeth's own. The night blurred into after-parties and limousine rides, but Sophia lingered like an afterimage. Elizabeth lay awake in her Upper East Side penthouse, the sheets twisted around her legs, replaying the brush of fingers, the unspoken promise in those dark eyes. She had dated men before, polite dinners, obligatory kisses, but they had always felt like roles in a play she didn't write. With Sophia, it was different, a pull toward something authentic, terrifying in its depth. Days turned to weeks, and their encounters multiplied like footnotes in a draft. A coffee at a hole-in-the-wall in the Village, where Sophia dissected Elizabeth's latest article over steaming mugs, her critiques laced with encouragement. "You're holding back," Sophia said one afternoon, sunlight slanting through the cafe's grimy windows. "Your voice is there, sharp and alive, but you're afraid to let it cut." Elizabeth met her gaze, heart hammering. What if it cuts too deep? Then came the rain-slicked evening in late November, when Elizabeth's doorman buzzed up a delivery, a dog-eared copy of Joan Didion slouching towards Bethlehem, inscribed inside, "For the woman who sees the cracks." Read between the lines. Elizabeth traced the script with her fingertip, a shiver racing down her spine. She texted Sophia without thinking balcony, and 40 minutes later, they met not at the Gala's Heights, but at a quiet bar in Chelsea, all exposed brick and jazz humming low. The drinks flowed, loosening tongues and inhibitions. Sophia spoke of her own scars, a Catholic upbringing in Queens that choked her queerness until she fled to J school, gigs that paid in ramen and rejections. "I write to expose the lies we tell ourselves," she said, her knee brushing Elizabeth's under the table. "Deliberate now, but loving, that's the hardest truth." Elizabeth's hand trembled as she reached across, covering Sophia's warm, callous from keyboards and notepads. The touch anchored her, a lifeline in the storm of her doubts. When their lips met outside in the drizzle, it was tentative at first, then fervent, Sophia's mouth soft and insistent, tasting of whiskey and rain. Elizabeth's world tilted, colors sharpening, the city's pulse syncing with her own. They stumbled to Sophia's walk-up in the West Village, a third-floor railroad apartment cluttered with books and half-finished articles, the bed a tangle of thrift store quilts. There, in the dim glow of a street lamp filtering through blinds, they explored each other with the hunger of the long denied. Sophia's hands mapped Elizabeth's skin, collarbone to hip, as if committing it to memory. Her whispers a litany of affirmations: beautiful, brave, mine. Elizabeth arched into the touch, tears pricking her eyes, the release not just physical but a shattering of walls she hadn't known she built. For the first time, she felt seen, not as Vivian's daughter, but as Elizabeth, flawed, yearning, whole. But dawn brought reality's cold edge. Elizabeth slipped away before Sophia woke, leaving a note on the pillow. Last night was everything. But the light, it's too bright for me yet. She hailed a cab back to the penthouse, the skyline mocking her with its indifference. Guilt gnawed at her edges. Vivian would never understand, never forgive. The media empire her mother wielded like a weapon could erase careers, bury scandals overnight. What chance did a love like this have against that? Yet the pull was inexorable. Stolen lunches in Central Park, where Sophia fed Elizabeth bites of falafel from a food truck, their laughter muffled by scarves against the winter bite. Late-night calls when Elizabeth paced her office at Harper Tower, overlooking Times Square's neon frenzy, while Sophia's voice soothed from her Brooklyn stoop. "Come out," Sophia urged one February night, snow dusting the streets like powdered sugar. "Just once. Let me show you freedom tastes like." Elizabeth hesitated, the weight of expectation crushing. Vivian had ramped up the pressure. "Darling, Richard Langford's gala next week. You'll be his arm candy." "It's good optics." Elizabeth nodded through the brunch at the Polo Lounge, her fork pushing Eggs Benedict around the plate. But that evening, she chose differently. She texted Sophia, "Your place. Now." The months unfurled in a haze of secrecy and bliss. Spring bloomed in Washington Square Park, where they picnicked on stolen wine and cheese. Sophia's head in Elizabeth's lap as she read aloud from dog-eared poetry, Audre Lorde, words that echoed their hidden world. "Your silence will not protect you," Sophia murmured, fingers tracing Elizabeth's thigh. And in those moments, Elizabeth believed it. But shadows lengthened. Vivian's intuition, honed by decades of reading between headlines, began to prick. A missed family dinner here. A distracted gaze at board meetings there. "You're glowing, Elizabeth," Vivian noted over Cosmos at Le Bernardin, her eyes narrowing behind designer frames. "New skincare? Or something someone else?" Elizabeth laughed it off. But the seed of dread took root. Sophia sensed it too. Her journalist's nose for trouble. "We can't hide forever," she said one humid June evening, tangled in sheets sticky with sweat, the ceiling fan whirring lazily above. Elizabeth pulled her closer, breathing in the salt of her skin. "Just a little longer. Until I'm ready to fight." The fight came unbidden, crashing like a wave in July. Elizabeth's phone buzzed during a Harper Media strategy session, Vivian's war room of executives in glass-walled offices high above Midtown. It was a text from an unknown number, a grainy photo of her and Sophia, lips locked in an alley behind a Soho gallery. Timestamp 2 nights prior. "Tell mommy, or this goes viral." A friend. Panic clawed up Elizabeth's throat. She excused herself, fleeing to the executive washroom, marble echoing her ragged breaths. "Who?" A jealous colleague? A society hanger-on with a grudge? The photo was damning raw. Intimate. The kind of image that could fuel tabloid fires for months. She called Sophia. Voice breaking. It's out. Someone knows. Sophia's response was steel wrapped in silk. Then we face it. Together. No more hiding. But Elizabeth's instinct was flight. She deleted the photo. Blocked the number. Convinced herself it was a bluff. Days blurred into denial, workaholic nights at the office, dodging Vivian's probing questions. Sophia's messages piled up. Talk to me. Please. Elizabeth ignored them. The guilt a lead weight in her chest. The breaking point arrived at the annual Harper Media Summer Soiree, a glittering affair at the Pierre Hotel. Vivian, radiant in sapphire silk, toasted expansions into digital streaming, her arm linked possessively with Elizabeth's. To family, she said. Glass raised. Eyes on her daughter. The unbreakable bond. Elizabeth forced a smile. But across the foyer, Sophia stood uninvited, bold in a crimson dress that hugged her curves like a dare. Their eyes met, and Elizabeth's resolve crumbled. She slipped away, finding Sophia by the service elevators, the hum of the party distant. You came, Elizabeth whispered, tears welling. Sophia cupped her face, thumbs brushing away the salt. I love you. That's why. The kiss was desperate, a reclaiming amid the chaos. But fate, cruel as a plot twist, intervened. Vivian's assistant, ever vigilant, spotted them, whispering into her earpiece, summoning security. Minutes later, Vivian descended, her face a mask of fury and betrayal. Elizabeth Marie Harper, she hissed. Grip iron on her daughter's arm. What in God's name is this? Sophia stepped forward. Chin lifted. This is love. Mrs. Harper. The kind you can't edit out. Vivian laughed. Cold and cutting. Love? This is a scandal. And I bury scandals before breakfast. She turned to Elizabeth, voice dropping to venom. Go home. Now. We'll discuss this privately. Elizabeth obeyed. Numb. The limo ride a blur of rain-streaked windows. At the penthouse, Vivian waited. A tablet in hand, the leaked photo already circulating in anonymous DMs among the elite. You've shamed us, Vivian said, pacing the Persian rug. A woman? In our world, the board will crucify you. The press, my press, will devour you. It's not shame, Elizabeth choked out, voice gaining strength. It's me. Finally me. Vivian paused, expression fracturing for a heartbeat, hurt beneath the armor. I built this for you. To protect you from this vulnerability, but protection felt like chains. That night, Elizabeth packed a bag. Heart pounding. She texted Sophia, meet me at the bridge. Brooklyn side. Midnight. The Brooklyn Bridge at witching hour was a Gothic span, cables strung like harp strings against the moonlit sky. Sophia waited, silhouette etched in fog rolling off the water. They embraced, Elizabeth's sobs muffled in Sophia's hair. I'm done hiding, Elizabeth said, pulling back. But the storm's coming. My mother's wrath, it's biblical. Sophia smiled. Fierce. Then we'll weather it. I've got sources. Allies. We expose her if she tries to bury us. Dawn painted the East River gold as they crossed into Brooklyn. Hand in hand, a small rebellion. The first step toward freedom. But Vivian's counterstrike was swift. Surgical. By morning, headlines bloomed across Harper Media's outlets. Heiress's wild night. Partying with mystery woman raises eyebrows. Subtle at first, hints of erratic behavior, questionable influences, but escalating. Anonymous leaks painted Sophia as a gold-digging opportunist, her past articles twisted into smears of bias. Elizabeth watched from Sophia's apartment, coffee turning bitter in her mouth. She's weaponizing her empire against us. Sophia scrolled her laptop, jaw set. Not for long. I've been digging offshore accounts. The merger you mentioned. If she comes for us, we hit back with truth. The betrayal cut deeper when it came from within. Elizabeth's closest confidant. Her assistant Lila, 25. Ambitious. With dreams of her own byline, confessed over a tense lunch at Dean and DeLuca. Your mother. She offered me a promotion. Said it was for the family's sake. The photo had been Lila's doing. Snapped from a cab window on a tip from Vivian. Elizabeth walked out. The city a cacophony of horns and hurt. Betrayal a knife twist in her gut. How many layers of loyalty had her mother bought? Nights blurred into strategy sessions on Sophia's worn couch. Takeout containers piling like evidence. Sophia's network, queer activists, indie journalists rallied, drafting op-eds, lining up podcasts. Elizabeth contributed her insider knowledge, voice trembling as she outlined Vivian's playbook. Smear, isolate, erase. Yet doubt crept in like fog. One evening, as thunder rattled the windows, Elizabeth paced. What if we lose everything? My career. Your credibility. Sophia pulled her down, eyes blazing. We lose nothing worth keeping if we don't fight. This love? It's our story. Let them try to bury it. The climax erupted in August. Heat wave sticky and unrelenting. Vivian summoned Elizabeth to Harper Tower. The executive suite a fortress of glass and steel. End this farce, she demanded. Dossiers on Sophia splayed across the desk, fabricated debts. Doctored quotes from exes. Or I'll ensure she's finished. No byline in this city again. Elizabeth's hand shook. But she met her mother's gaze. No. And if you touch her, I'll walk. Tell every outlet the truth about your empire's rot. Vivian's laugh was hollow. You think you can destroy me? I'm the one who taught you power. You're the one who taught me fear, Elizabeth countered. Voice steady. I'm done. She left. Elevator descending like a guillotine's fall. Hours later, Sophia's piece dropped, an explosive intercept feature. Harper Media's Hidden Empire. How One Mogul Silences Dissent. Backed by Elizabeth's anonymous tips. It detailed the antitrust dodges, the buried stories, the personal vendettas. The backlash was seismic. Stocks dipped. Board calls flooded. Protests gathered outside Harper Tower, queer voices chanting for Elizabeth. For love unburied. Vivian's fortress cracked. In a rare interview, her voice broke, admitting, I thought control was love. It wasn't. Elizabeth and Sophia watched from a rooftop bar in Williamsburg. City lights a tapestry below. We did it, Sophia whispered. Hand in Elizabeth's. Not without cost, Elizabeth replied. Scars of betrayal still tender. But in Sophia's arms, healing began, a slow unfurling, like pages turning toward light. Fall deepen. leaves carpeting Central Park in crimson. Elizabeth started her own newsletter. Unscripted, raw essays on identity. Love's quiet revolutions. Sophia mentored young journalists. Her bylines bolder. Vivian reached out tentatively. A letter. Handwritten. Apologizing not in words but silences filled with regret. They met for coffee. Awkward bridges rebuilding. One crisp November eve. Under the same balcony stars. Elizabeth proposed, not with rings, but promises. Forever's not a headline, she said. Sophia's laughter warm against her lips. It's this. Their story didn't end in headlines, but in the spaces between love's patient ink. Inked in hearts that refused erasure. The winter after the scandal settled like a hush over the city, blanketing rooftops in indifferent white. Elizabeth and Sophia had carved out a fragile normalcy in Sophia's Brooklyn brownstone. A narrow row house wedged between a bodega and a tattoo parlor. Its fire escape a perch for morning coffees overlooking Atlantic Avenue's bustle. Elizabeth commuted to her fledgling newsletter office in Dumbo, a converted warehouse loft buzzing with freelancers who typed with the fervor of revolutionaries, while Sophia balanced gigs with adjunct teaching at NYU. Her lectures on ethical reporting laced with tales of their own unearthed truth. But normalcy was a thin veneer. Elizabeth woke some nights drenched in sweat. Dreams replaying Vivian's fury. The slam of the office door. The echo of shame like a verdict. She would slip from bed, pad to the kitchen in socks worn thin, and stare at the fridge's magnetized notes, Sophia's reminders, groceries. Call mom. Love you. Grounding. Yet the anxiety lingered. A low hum beneath her ribs. Sophia noticed. Of course. She always did. Her journalists I missing nothing. One December morning, as snow flurried past the window, she cornered Elizabeth at the stove, where pancakes sizzled in cast iron. You're drifting again, Sophia said, arms wrapping from behind, chin on Elizabeth's shoulder. The scent of vanilla and maple mingled with Sophia's sleep-warm skin, a balm against the chill. Elizabeth flipped a pancake, watching it bubble. Just the holidays. Mom's gala invite came yesterday. Gold embossed. Like nothing happened. Sophia turned her gently, flour-dusted hands framing her face. And? Are you going? The question hung, heavy as the ornaments they hadn't yet hung. Vivian's annual holiday bash was legend. Black tie opulence at the plaza. Alisters toasting amid 15-foot furs dripping Swarovski. Last year, Elizabeth had ghosted it, holing up with Sophia and a bottle of Pinot by a space heater. This year, the invitation felt like an olive branch or a trap. I don't know, Elizabeth admitted, voice small. Part of me wants to show her we're unbreakable. The other part fears she'll see the cracks. Sophia's thumb traced Elizabeth's jaw, a gesture worn smooth by repetition. Then we go together. As us. Let her see the strength she tried to bury. The idea terrified and thrilled. That evening, they dressed with ritual care. Elizabeth in a velvet emerald gown that hugged her frame. Auburn hair loose in waves. Sophia in tailored black pantsuit. A single pearl earring glinting like defiance. In the cab to Midtown, hands clasped, Elizabeth's pulse raced. If it goes south, it won't, Sophia murmured, kissing her knuckles. We've faced worse. The plaza's grand ballroom shimmered like a jewel box, chandeliers casting prisms over gowns and gems. Vivian held court near the orchestra, her silver gown ethereal, laugh tinkling like ice and scotch. Spotting them, her expression flickered surprise, then a mask of graciousness. "Elizabeth," she said, air-kissing cheeks, eyes sliding to Sophia with cool appraisal. "And MS. Wraith. How?" "Unexpected." Sophia extended a hand. "Steady." "Vivian." "Lovely as ever." The exchange crackled, undercurrents swirling. Vivian drew Elizabeth aside amid the swirl of waltzing couples, champagne flutes circulating on silver trays. "Bringing your companion." "Bold." "She's my partner," Elizabeth corrected, chin lifting. "And this is us, Mom." "No more secrets." Vivian's gaze softened, just a fraction. "I've been reading your newsletter." "It's provocative." "Like you." They talked then, haltingly, over canapes of caviar and blini, about the empire's pivots, Vivian's quiet divestments from the shadier holdings. No apologies, but acknowledgments. The cost of control, the gift of release. Sophia joined later, the three orbiting like wary planets, conversation turning to industry shifts, Sophia's measured insights earning a grudging nod. As midnight told, fireworks bursting over Central Park visible through arched windows, Vivian pulled Elizabeth close. "I was wrong," she whispered, voice barely audible over the strings. "About protecting you. I built walls, not wings." Elizabeth hugged her, tears hot. "Then help me fly." The night ended not in fracture, but fragile accord. Back in Brooklyn, snow dusting their coats, Sophia and Elizabeth slow danced in the living room to Coltrane on vinyl, bare feet on creaky floors. "We survived," Elizabeth breathed, forehead to Sophia's. "Barely," Sophia teased, but her eyes shone. "Worth it." Spring brought renewal, tentative as crocuses pushing through concrete. Elizabeth's unscripted gained traction, subscribers swelling with shares from queer networks, essays on self-forgiveness resonating like echoes. One piece, "The Edit of the Heart," veiled their story in metaphor, a writer redacting her own narrative, only to ink it bolder. Sophia landed a book deal, her memoir byline and backbone weaving investigative grit with personal awakening. Elizabeth's influence a subtle thread. They celebrated at a quiet Italian in Park Slope, candlelight flickering over pasta carbonara, wine loosening plans, a road trip west, perhaps, to trade skyscrapers for wide skies. But undercurrents stirred. Lila resurfaced, an email apology laced with Jobshduet unscripted. Elizabeth wrestled, forgiveness a jagged edge, ultimately offering a probationary role, boundaries firm. "Redemption's earned," she told Sophia later, curled on the couch. "Like us." Summer hummed with heat and momentum. They escaped to the Hamptons, not Vivian's sprawling estate, but a rented cottage in Montauk. Shingles weathered, waves crashing like applause. Days blurred, beach walks collecting sea glass, nights on the porch with gin and tonics, Sophia's guitar strumming folk tunes into the salt air. There, in the cottage's loft bed, screened by gauzy curtains, their love deepened, exploration slow and sacred, bodies mapping scars and strengths. Sophia traced the faint line above Elizabeth's eyebrow, born of a fall from her mother's expectations. "This," she whispered, lips following fingers, "is where your fight began." Elizabeth shivered, arching. "And you? Where's yours?" Sophia guided her hand to a tattoo on her ribcage. A tiny quill. Ink post coming out. Here. Every word since. A rebellion. Their rhythm was poetry. Urgent in storms. Tender in sun. Elizabeth learned the curve of Sophia's hip. The gasp at her ear. Sophia savored Elizabeth's sighs. The way her green eyes darkened with want. Vulnerability wove them tighter, Elizabeth voicing fears of inadequacy. Sophia admitting ghosts of rejection. Yet paradise held thorns. A call from Vivian mid-July, health scare. Routine but rattling, a shadow on a scan. Biopsies pending. Come home, she urged. Voice stripped of command. Elizabeth flew solo. Sophia's kiss lingering like armor. At the hospital. Vivian frail in a gown. For dripping. Elizabeth held her hand. I pushed too hard, Vivian confessed. Monitors beeping soft. Feared losing you to weakness. But love. It's the strongest story. Biopsy clear. But the scare lingered. Prompting truces. Vivian subscribed to Unscripted. Even guest posted, anonymously, on corporate empathy. Elizabeth returned to Montauk renewed. Sophia waiting with open arms. Family's messy, she said, as they watched sunset gild the surf. But yours? It's evolving. False palette returned. Amber and rust. Protests had faded. But ripples endured, Harper Media rebranded. Diversity initiatives blooming under scrutiny. Elizabeth moderated panels at queer lit fests. Sophia keynoting on truth-telling. Their life. Once secret. Now public in glimpses. A New York Times profile. Hands intertwined in the photo. But depth demanded reckoning. Elizabeth's therapy, started post-scandal, unearthed layers. Resentment toward Vivian's absentee father. Internalized shame from polished perfection. Sessions in a village office. Rain pattering windows. Peeled back facades. You're grieving the girl who hid, her therapist said. Sophia attended one. Supportive shadow. Afterward. Over foe in Chinatown. Elizabeth voiced it. I want kids. Someday. Not to fill voids. But. To build something real. Sophia's fork paused. Eyes wide. Yeah? With donors. Co-parenting? Or. Us, Elizabeth said. Heart exposed. If you're in. Sophia grinned. Tears brimming. All in. Winter circled again. Holidays approached with less dread. Vivian hosted a small dinner. Thanksgiving at the penthouse. Table set for 5 her. Elizabeth. Sophia. Lila redeemed. Tentative. And a surprise. Vivian's estranged sister. Aunt Clara. A painter from Taos with stories of wild youth. Laughter flowed freer. Turkey carved amid tales of Vivian's rebellious teens, dyed hair. Hitchhiked coasts. I was you once, she told Elizabeth. Passing pie. Scared. But fierce. Toasts rang to healings. To loves unearthed. Later. On the balcony, same stars. Different season, Elizabeth and Sophia stole away. Breaths fogging glass. This, Elizabeth said. Hand on Sophia's belly. Dreaming futures. Is our headline. As the new year dawned crisp and unforgiving. Elizabeth found herself at a crossroads that felt less like a choice and more like an unraveling thread. Unscripted had ballooned, podcasts launched. Live events selling out Brooklyn warehouses, but success bred scrutiny. Whispers circled. Was the heiress's pivot authentic? Or a calculated rebrand? Sophia's book tour loomed. 16 cities in 8 weeks. pulling her westward while Elizabeth anchored in New York. They navigated it with calls at odd hours, Sophia from a Seattle hotel, voice husky from readings, Elizabeth from the brownstone, city sounds bleeding through. "Miss your coffee breath," Sophia joked one midnight, Elizabeth laughing through yawns. But distance amplified doubts. Small fissures widening. Vivian, in her thawing way, became an unlikely bridge. She invited Elizabeth to co-host a media ethics panel at Columbia, neutral ground, olive branch extended. "Show them you're more than my shadow," she said over lunch at the Modern. "Salads untouched." Elizabeth agreed, wary but willing. The panel crackled. Academics sparring with execs on truth in the digital age. Elizabeth moderated with poise, drawing parallels to her own unscripted journey, veiled but resonant. Post-event, Vivian lingered, champagne in hand. "You were brilliant. Like me. But kinder." The compliment landed soft. A stitch in old wounds. They walked campus paths dusted with January frost. Vivian sharing rare vulnerabilities, her first failed marriage, a miscarriage before Elizabeth. "I armored up. Forgot how to feel." Elizabeth squeezed her arm. "You're learning now." Sophia's tour kicked off in LA. Sun-soaked readings at Book Soup. Fans queuing for signed copies. Elizabeth flew out midway, surprising her at a signing in San Francisco's city lights, shelves groaning with beat ghosts. Sophia's gasp, book tumbling, dissolved into a kiss amid applause. They stole a weekend in Big Sur. Highway 1 winding cliffs to a cliffside inn. Pacific roaring below. Hikes through redwood cathedrals. Hands linked on root-tangled paths. Evenings in Adirondack chairs. Fire pit crackling. Stars a scattershot above. "This is us," Sophia said. Head on Elizabeth's lap. Fingers toying with auburn strands. Portable. Persistent. Intimacy reignited fierce. The inn's clawfoot tub. Steam rising as bodies slicked with soap. Laughter echoing off tiles. Elizabeth traced tattoos. Learning their languages, quill for voice. Compass for direction. Sophia mapped freckles. Whispering devotions. Vulnerability peaked one dusk. Waves thundering. Elizabeth admitting to her envy. Fear of fading. "You're my center," she said. "Tears saltier than sea air." Sophia held her. "And you're mine." Distance test. Doesn't break. Back east. Fractures showed elsewhere. Lila, thriving at unscripted but haunted by guilt, confessed a relapse, leaking minor tips to a rival mag for quick cash. "I panicked," she sobbed in Elizabeth's office. Rain lashing windows. "Felt like I owed you more proof." Betrayal stung anew. But Elizabeth saw mirrors, her own past denials. "One strike left," she said. Firm yet forgiving. "Earn it clean." Lila nodded. Recommitted. Their bond a cautious rebuild. Spring bloom tentative. Cherry blossoms fragile along the promenade. Elizabeth guest edited a Verve issue, Vivian's Concession, focusing on queer voices. Sophia contributing a foreword. The launch party at the Whitney hummed. Artists mingling with moguls. Toasts to intersectional narratives. Vivian cornered Sophia by a Rothko. Scotch neat in hand. "You challenged me," she said. Direct. "Made me see my daughter's light." Sophia smiled. Guarded. "Love does that. Or breaks you trying." Their talk turned practical. Vivian funding a unscripted fellowship for underrepresented journalists. Sophia vetting applicants. Alliance formed. Uneasy but earnest. Yet personal storms brewed. Elizabeth's cycle skipped stress. She thought, until a drugstore test confirmed, pregnant. Donor source. Planned months back. But timing blindsided. Joy warred with terror. She called Sophia mid-tour stop in Austin. Voice quaking over barbecue smoke. We're having a baby. Silence. Then Sophia's whoop. Echoing in a Texas bar. Holy shit. Liz. Fly here. Now. Elizabeth did. Landing in humid heat. Sophia waiting at baggage claim. Grin splitting her face. They drove to a hill country ranch, borrowed from a contact, stars vast overhead. News shared under live oaks. Hands on Elizabeth's still flat belly. Our family, Sophia whispered, awe-threading her words. But reality intruded. Vivian's reaction. A mix of delight and dynasty dreams. A grandchild, she beamed over brunch at Sarabeth's. Eyes misty. Harper legacy evolves. Elizabeth bristled. Reyes Harper. Mom. Our terms. Tension simmered through summer. Elizabeth's nausea, a constant companion amid unscripted expansion, pop-up events in Chicago, partnerships with indie presses. Sophia wrapped her tour triumphant. Book a bestseller. But exhaustion etched lines around her eyes. Fall harvest brought harvest of self. Therapy deepening. Elizabeth journaling dreams for the baby. Gender-neutral nursery in the brownstone. Walls papered in maps of places they'd roam. Sophia built a crib from reclaimed wood. Calluses blooming anew. One October Eve. Leaves swirling in gusts. They hosted a baby shower, intimate. Queer kin gathering. Aunt Clara with painted onesies. Lila with custom bibs embroidered tiny truth-teller. Vivian arrived last. Bearing a silver rattle engraved unbreakable. Her hug lingering. As dusk fell, Elizabeth and Sophia slipped to the fire escape. Cydia hummed below. Scared? Sophia asked. Hands splayed over the swell. Terrified, Elizabeth admitted. But with you? Ready. Winter wrapped them gentle. Snow muffling the world. Elizabeth's belly rounded. Kicks like Morse code promises. Sophia read aloud from children's books, The Giving Tree. Voices silly, while Vivian sent weekly care packages, organic onesies, birthing class vouchers. Labor came fierce in February. A blizzard sealing streets. Hospital halls echoed contractions. Sophia's hand vice grip. Vivian pacing lobby like a caged lioness. Dawn broke with a cry. Riley Reyes Harper. 7 pounds of fury and wonder. Dark curls and green-flecked eyes. In the recovery room, Elizabeth cradled her. Sophia's tears splashing warm. Our story, she murmured. Just beginning. Vivian entered soft-shoed. Cracking her poise. She's perfect. A finger traced Riley's cheek. Then Elizabeth's. You both are. Outside. Snow fell thick. Blanketing sins and starts alike. Their love, once buried, now bloomed roots deep, branches wide. A narrative etched in laughter and cries. In the quiet hold of family forged. Riley's first spring unfolded like a tender script. Petals unfurling in Prospect Park under skies washed blue. Elizabeth balanced motherhood's delirium. Feedings at 3 a.m. Tiny fists clutching her finger. With unscripted's virtual helm. Laptop balanced on nursing pillow. Sophia freelance from home. Her articles sharper post-parenthood. Laced with insights on legacy's weight. The brownstone adapted. Bassinet in their room. Walls splashed with murals Clara painted. Whimsical forests where foxes read newspapers. When Riley fussed, they tag-teamed. Sophia rocking to Spanish lullabies her abuela taught. Elizabeth humming ditty and excerpts turned verse. Vivian evolved into Nana. Visits weekly, first tentative. Bottle holding awkward. Then devoted. Scooping Riley for skyline strolls in the Bjorn. She has your fire, she told Elizabeth one afternoon in the park. Leaves rustling gold. And her mother's steel. Elizabeth smiled. Riley gurgling between them. We're blending it all. But harmony hit hurdles. Sleep deprivation frayed edges. A colic week turned tempers to tinder. One midnight. Riley's wails piercing. Elizabeth snapped over a spilled diaper bag. I can't, everything's on me. Sophia recoiled. Hurt flashing. I'm trying. Liz. Tor's ghost still haunts missed milestones. The fight simmered. Unspoken resentments bubbling. Elizabeth's resentment of Sophia's pre-baby freedom. Sophia's guilt over divided focus. They aired it raw over dawn coffee. Riley napping fitful. We're new at this, Sophia said. Hand extended. Team. Not titans. Elizabeth took it. Tears salting mugs. Partners. Always. Summer sweltered. Riley's Koo's a soundtrack to beach days at Coney Island. Boardwalk cotton candy melting sticky. Waves lapping toes. Sophia's book sequel brewed. Chapters on queer parenting amid media glare. Elizabeth's essays delved fatherlessness. Choosing donors as reclamation. A curveball landed Labor Day. Harper Media's merger proposal. From a progressive conglomerate promising ethical overhauls. Vivian called. Voice-laced excitement and dread. They want me advisory. You. Perhaps. Leading content. Elizabeth mulled. Consulting Sophia over barbecue in the yard. String lights twinkling. Riley in highchair smearing sauce. Legacy or liberty? Sophia posed. Both, Elizabeth decided. But on our terms. Negotiations stretched autumn. Boardrooms tense with Vivian's concessions, diversity quotas, transparency audits. Elizabeth joined as EVP. Her newsletter folding in as flagship. Sophia consulting on fact-checking protocols. Winter's grip tightened. Riley's first Christmas a chaos of wrapping paper and wonder. Vivian hosted at the penthouse, tree towering. Ornaments heirlooms, Clara in from Taos. Lila with her new partner. A graphic novelist. Dinner toasts veered vulnerable, Vivian toasting to rewrites. Eyes on Riley in elf pajamas. Post-feast. Elizabeth and Sophia escaped to the balcony. Snowflakes dancing. Full circle, Elizabeth whispered. Sophia's arms circling from behind. Better arc, Sophia replied. Kiss warm against cold. Spring 2029 bloomed with Riley's steps, wobbly toward the coffee table. Triumphs cheered. Unscripted expanded to Austin Outpost. Elizabeth splitting time. Sophia trailing for a semester sabbatical. Texas sun baked their skins golden. Barbecues with local queer collective. Riley chasing fireflies in hill country dark. But distance from Vivian strained anew. Calls grew sparse. Her health check-ins laced with loneliness. The tower echoes without you, she admitted one video chat. Riley waving chubby fists. Guilt tugged Elizabeth east for a weekend. Leaving Sophia and Riley to a daddy-daughter dance class. Sophia in tutu. Giggles recorded. Alone with Vivian. They walked the Met's gardens. Cherry blossoms bridal. I missed this, Vivian said. linking arms. Us. Me too, Elizabeth confessed. But Riley's world, it's ours to shape. Vivian nodded. Resolve softening. Then visit more. Bring my granddaughter. Balance tipped fragile. Summer brought a scare. Sophia's editrix flagged a story, Harper ties to a shady pack. Pre-merger dirt. Publish, she asked Elizabeth. Ethics clashing loyalty. Truth first, Elizabeth urged. Though stomach nodded. The piece dropped. Ripple's minimal merger safeguards holding, but Vivian's call stung. Necessary. Yes, Elizabeth said. Like us learning boundaries. Fall's equinox marked Riley's second birthday, park picnic. Cake-smeared faces. Friends from both worlds mingling. Vivian arrived with a pony ride, scaled to tricycle. Her laugh genuine amid chaos. As dusk fell. Bonfire crackling. Elizabeth watched Sophia spin Riley under stars. Heart full. Later. In bed. Limbs tangled. She voiced a dream. Adopt? Another little one. Sophia's eyes lit. Yeah. Grow this. Winter whispered changes. Vivian dating. A gallery owner. Soft-spoken. Queer history shared. Elizabeth teased over holiday eggnog. Vivian blushing. At my age? Reinventing. Good, Elizabeth said. Join the club. Riley's third spring toddled in with questions. Why two moms? Answered simple. Love makes families. Therapy evolved. Family sessions weaving Vivian in. Untangling knots of control into cords of connection. Summer road trip west. Route 66 Echoes. Riley wide-eyed at Grand Canyon rims. Sophia narrating lore. Elizabeth snapping Polaroids. Motel nights. Neon buzzing. Love rekindled in narrow beds. Whispers planning futures. Bodies reaffirming now. Fall harvest yielded bounties. Sophia's sequel launch. Elizabeth's TED Talk on narrative ownership. Riley stage side. Clapping fierce. Vivian. In audience. Stood ovation longest. Winter solstice brought snow angels in the yard. Riley's mittens tiny prints. As 2030 dawned. Elizabeth journaled by firelight. Riley asleep. Sophia's head on her knee. Our story, once secret. Now saga. Buried no more. Blooming eternal. Riley's preschool years painted their canvas in crayons and chaos. Mornings a ballet of sippy cups and Velcro sneakers. Elizabeth thrived at Harper Media's revamped content arm. Greenlighting series on marginalized makers. Podcasts from Navajo weavers. Docs on trans elders. Sophia tenured at NYU. Her classes magnets for aspiring truth seekers. Office hours spilling into pub debates. The Brownstone Pulsed family. Playdates with park kids. Walls finger-painted murals evolving weekly. Vivian. Now Nana Vi, weekend warrior Central Park Zoo jaunts. Riley astride her shoulders. Demanding elephant facts. But mid-decade shifts stirred. 2032. Vivian's retirement gala. A spectacle at Lincoln Center spotlights on her legacy. But speeches nodding Elizabeth's innovations. Backstage. Vivian pressed a key fob. The penthouse. For Riley's future. Elizabeth palmed it heavy. We'll visit. Make it ours. Sophia. Overhearing. Raised brow later in the limo. Legacy bait? Or peace offering? Elizabeth countered. They tabled it. Focusing Riley's kindergarten jitters, backpack stuffed. First day tears. Autumn leaves crunched underfoot as Riley marched in. Emerging storyteller. Mrs. Says I'm Brave. Evenings. Bedtime tales co-authored Sophia the Dragon. Elizabeth the night. Vivian guest night via FaceTime. Winter brought a whisper of loss. Clara's passing. Quiet in Tau studio. Easel midstroke. Funeral sparse. Canvas's legacy. Elizabeth inherited the Fox reading forest. Hung in Riley's room. Grief shared. Vivian flying in. Arms open. Sophia curating a memorial exhibit at unscripted gallery space. Spring thawed with resolve. Elizabeth pitched a family memoir collab, hers and Sophia's. Riley's doodles interspersed. Publisher snapped it. Threads unraveled. A love unearthed. Summer sabbatical, Vermont cabin. Lakeside. No signal. Canoe paddles slicing mist. Riley fishing with gummy worms. Catches released giggling. Night. Sticky. Stories swapped. Sophia's abuela tales. Vivian's phoned in city lore. Intimacy deep in domestic. Post-bedtime wines. Feet tangled on porch swings. Dreams voiced. Europe. Sophia mused. Riley tracing our roots. Brooklyn to Basque. Fall's back-to-school rhythm steadied. But a letter arrived. Anonymous. Postmark Chicago. Clipping of their old scandal. Annotated truth dies slow. Paranoia prickled. Sophia's contacts traced to a disgruntled ex-exec. Grudge nursed. They bolstered security, doorman protocols. Therapy check-ins. Old ghosts, Elizabeth said. Riley oblivious in swing set arcs. Won't haunt us. Winter holidays amplified joy. Hanukkah lacks. Sophia's nod to a college fling's tradition. Christmas at the penthouse. Riley decorating Nana Vi's tree. Ornaments clinking memories. Vivian's bow. Marcus. Joined silver-haired curator. Gentle debates over port. New Year 2033. Riley's 7th birthday. Laser tag arena mayhem. Friends shrieking. Evening quiet. Cake candles blown. Elizabeth caught Sophia's eye across table. Love steady flame. Spring bloomed collaborations. Threads manuscript ballooned. Riley's chapters adventures with Mama S and Mama E. Book tour loomed. Family affair stops in San Francisco. New Orleans. Riley charming crowds with crayon maps. Summer road weary but rich. French Quarter jazz. Beignet powdered. Riley dancing street corners. Vivian tagged New Orleans leg. Beignet sugar and silver hair. Bonding over pralines. You're good for her, she told Sophia. Rare endorsement. For all of us. Fall harvest. Book launch at Strand. Lines snaking aisles. Riley signing with Loopy ES. Reviews glowed. Raw. Redemptive. Sales soaring. But autumn winds carried chill. Vivian's checkup flagged anomalies, fatigue. Unexplained bruises. Tests blurred November. Diagnosis dropping like frost. Leukemia. Early but aggressive. Elizabeth's world tilted. Riley shielded in explanations soft. Nana's fighting dragons. Hospital vigils. Chemo drips beeping. Vivian frail but fierce. Riley's drawings taping 4 poles, dragons slain in marker. Sophia anchored. Meals prepped. Riley's routines held. We're her strength, she said. Holding Elizabeth through sobs. Like she once tried to be ours. Winter solstice. Remission whispers. But fragility lingered. Holidays hushed. Penthouse tree dimmer. But Riley's carols bright. Vivian. Homebound. Requested a reading, threads draft. Voices weaving, Elizabeth's polish. Sophia's fire. Riley's giggles. As 2034 dawned. Scans cleared tentative. Vivian rallied. Vowing marathons for research. Elizabeth exhaled. Planning spring escapes, Bermuda sands. Riley building castles. Their love, tempered by trial, glowed resilient. Mornings tangled. Riley's footsteps pattering join. Evenings, hands linked over wine. Futures sketched. Our story, Elizabeth thought, not buried, but boundless. Riley's middle school pivot marked a chapter turn. Braces glinting in awkward grins. Friendships fracturing and reforming like ice flows. Elizabeth helmed Harper's digital pivot, VR ethics docs, AI truth filters, while Sophia chaired NYU's journalism department, mentoring a new wave. The brownstone creaked fuller. Riley's room a teen cave of posters, Billie Eilish, Malala, debates over screen time flaring dinner tables. Vivian, cancer a scar faded, doted digitally, virtual museum tours with Riley, dissecting headlines. Spring 2035. Family trip to Oregon coast, craggy shores, tide pools teeming. Hikes through fern gullies. Riley snapping iPhone pics for her eco-blog. Evenings, campfires crackling. Ghost stories lace queer lore. Sophia's spin on La Llorona. Redeemed. Intimacy adapted. Date nights squeezed. Stolen in speakeasies. Hands brushing under tables. One Astoria Eve. Post Riley's sleepover. They reclaimed the roof, blanket fort. City lights winking. Still sparks. Sophia teased. Fingers in Elizabeth's hair. Wildfire. Elizabeth murmured. Pull deepening, bodies familiar yet fervent. Rediscovering in quiet gasps. Summer stirred ambitions. Riley's passion project. A school podcast on climate queers. Elizabeth producing. Sophia guesting. Vivian funded mics. Pride in her nod. Fall equinox. Threads sequel announced, woven stronger. Post-baby arcs. Writing retreats in the Catskills. Riley visiting weekends. Her inputs teen sharp. Make the dragons real. Mamas. Winter's hush brought reflection. Therapy milestone. Family quartet unpacking Vivian's relapses. Control as love's warped mirror. I see now, Vivian said. Snow veiling windows. Letting go gifts more. New Year 2036. Riley's bat mitzvah, Sophia's cultural nod. Blended rites. Temple alive with kin. Speeches soaring. Elizabeth's toast. From secrets to songs, your voice. Our harmony. Spring bloomed graduations. Riley to high school. Honors track. Essays on inherited narratives. Elizabeth keynote at GLAD. Sophia moderating, stage shared. Hands brushing podium. Summer sabbatical abroad. Italy. Gelato sticky weeks in Tuscany hills. Riley fluent in charades. Vineyard tours. Pasta making fiascos. Vivian joined Florence leg. Uffizi wandering. Botticelli births echoing her own rebirths. Intimacy Italian. Olive groves. Picnics al fresco. Bodies oiled in sun-warmed sheets. Sophia's mouth tracing collarbones. Elizabeth's sighs mingling with cicadas. Fall's rhythm. Riley's first crush, non-binary classmate. Awkward texts Elizabeth coached. Listen more than label, she advised. Mirroring her own youth. Winter solstice. Holiday fusion. Kwanzaa Kinera, Clara's Echo. You'll log. Riley's playlist eclectic. Vivian's health held. Her memoir ghosted by Elizabeth, Empire of Echoes. Raw reckonings. 2037 Dawn Dynamic. Harper's Climate Initiative. Sophia leading ethics board. Riley interned at Unscripted. Bylines budding. Queer roots in urban soil. Spring storm. Anonymous leak redux. Old photos resurfaced. Twisted by alt-right troll farms. Media frenzy brief. But Riley shielded. Sleep lost. Family huddle. Vivian's lawyer swift. Sophia's op-ed viral. Bury this, love's resurrection. Summer healed. Montana ranch. White skies. Horse tracks. Riley confided crushes. Elizabeth sharing Sophia tales, balcony sparks. Vivian. Riding tandem. Laughed free. Fall harvest. Book tour redux. Riley co-paneling teens. Sales soared. Dialogues deepening. Winter's gift. Riley's coming out pan. Proud. Overlax. Cheers erupted. Vivian toasting to truths timeless. As 2038 bloomed, Elizabeth watched Riley bike to school. Sophia's hand in hers. Are we? She thought. Threats enduring. Patterns profound. Riley's high school helix spiraled swift. Debates won. Crushes kindled and cooled. Her voice a clarion in school halls. Elizabeth's Harper tenure peaked. CEO whisperings. But she demurred. Prioritizing legacy over ladder. Sophia's department innovated VR reporting sims. Ethics AIs trained on real reckonings. Brownstone beats. Riley's band practices thumping bass. Vegan potlucks with her crew. Vivian. Septuagenarian vibrant. Hosted Nana Nights. Board games. Riley trouncing all in Monopoly. Empire's mock-built. Spring 2039. College tours barred for arts. Oberlin for activism. Riley leaned environmental justice. Essays searing. Elizabeth and Sophia tag-teamed. Vivian funding apps. For the fighter in you. Summer volunteer stint. Riley in Louisiana wetlands. Restoring after hurricanes. Video calls glowing mud-streaked. Mamas. This is it, change hands-on. Intimacy interstitial. Quickies in laundry nooks. Weekends away, Hudson Valley B&B. Hikes to overlooks. Bodies renewed in hot spring steam. Sophia's fingers mapping stretch marks from Riley. Elizabeth's lips charting laugh lines. Aging graceful, Sophia quipped. Mirrors fogged. Fall frenzy. Apps submitted. Riley's anxiety spiking late-night talks. Elizabeth's Yale tales soothing. Rejections redirect, she said. Winter acceptance. Brown University. Providence bound. Tears and toasts. Vivian gifting a locket. Clara's fox etched inside. New Year 2040. Riley's grad party. Backyard strung lights. Band jamming originals. Elizabeth danced with Sophia. Riley cutting in. My heroes. Spring send-off. Packing marathons. Dorm decor debates. Vivian's speech at brunch. Go fierce. My girl. We've paved. You soar. Summer empty nest echo. Brownstone quiet. Elizabeth and Sophia reclaiming space. Yoga mats unrolled. Dinner's candlelit. Us again, Sophia said. Wine swirling. Road trip south. Natchez Trace. Blues bars. Motel reunions urgent skin rediscovered. Futures voiced. Fall drop-off. Providence crisp. Riley's room posters up. Hugs lingering. Drive home tear-streaked. But calls nightly buoyed. Winter solstice. Empty tree trimmed nostalgic. Riley FaceTiming from finals. Vivian's health dip, flew to fatigue prompted check. Clear but cautionary. 2041 bloomed Riley free. Elizabeth's sabbatical. Novel drafted secret spires. Their love fictionalized. Sophia co-edited. Red pen gentle. Spring book deal. Auction fever. Film rights buzz. Riley devoured drafts. Mama's movie? Summer premiere dreams. Can whispers? But grounded, beach reads with Riley home. Internships at EPA. Intimacy peaked private. Paris getaway. Sane strolls. Eiffel kisses. Hotel nights. Silk sheets. Sophia's whispers encore. Bodies timeless. Souls synced. Fall launch. Secret Spire's bestseller. Riley front row. Q&A grilling. Vivian's review in Verve. A triumph of heart. Winter's hush. Riley's holiday return. Tales tumbling, protests joined. Love sparked. Family expanded. Her girlfriend, Jordan, shy engineer, welcomed warm. As 2042 dawned, Elizabeth journaled by frost-rimed window. Sophia stirring cocoa, nests empty. But flights free our story. Wings wide. Riley's college crescendo crested in protests and papers. Brown banners waved. Her major in enviro policy ablaze. Elizabeth consulted globally. Davos panels on media trust. Sophia keynote TED. Storytelling's soul. Brownstone breathed. Guest rooms aired for Riley's visits. Herb garden thriving. Vivian. 75 fierce. Traveled Africa safaris. Riley tagging spring break. Elephant selfies shared. Spring 2043. Riley's internship DC. Capitol Hill whispers. Elizabeth visited. Lobbying tips over falafel. Sophia's grant-funded project. Queer oral histories. Riley interviewing. Summer wedding bells. Jordan's proposal. Ring simple recycled gold. Riley beamed calls. Mamas. Elope or extravaganza? Yours, Elizabeth said. We eloped courthouse, your pageantry. Fall planning frenzy. Venue hunt Berkshires. Guest list eclectic, Vivian's moguls. Sophia's activists. Elizabeth officiated practice. Vows workshop tearful. Winter nuptials. Snow-dusted barn. Fairy lights aglow. Riley radiant in linen. Jordan tucks at crisp. Vows echoed. In unearthed love. We stand. Dance floor swirled. Elizabeth and Sophia first twirl. Riley cutting in. Vivian two-stepping Marcus. 2044 bloomed Family Plus. Riley's grad school apps. Yale Enviro PhD. Accepted. Full circle. Elizabeth's novel sequel greenlit. Sophia adapting to script. Spring move. New Haven closer. Weekends commutes. Riley's apartment tour. Bookshelves bow. Didion. Lord. Their threads. Summer road trip redux. Southwest. Riley and Jordan shotgun. Canyons echoing laughs. Vivian piloted RV segment. Ghost stories revamped. Intimacy evolved. Silver threads in hair. But touch electric, mornings slow. Coffee to caresses. Anniversary Paris return. Sane boats. Promises renewed. Fall 2045. Riley's wedding anniversary bash. Brownstone bash. Toast to evolutions. Vivian on love's edits. Sophia on roots. Winter's gift. Riley's pregnancy announced. Surrogate. Eco-focus family. Grandmamas, she teased. Elizabeth's heart swelled. Sophia's whoop echoing old joys. 2046. Riley's PhD defense. Cap and gown. Thesis on media climate nexus. Elizabeth's pride podium hug. Post-party. Vivian's toast. From buried to blooming, your legacy. Summer birth Theo. Nephew tiny. Curls dark. Holding him. Elizabeth flashed to Riley's first cry. Cycles sacred. Fall book tour. Secret Spire's film premiere. Toronto Fest. Riley walked red carpet. Theo babbling. Reviews raved. Cinematic heart. Winter solstice. Multigen hearth. Theo's first snow. Riley's stories. Jordan's carols. Vivian's tales. Clara's fox locket passed. As 2047 whispered. Elizabeth and Sophia porch sat. City hum distant. Hands laced. Our art, she thought. From secret spark to constellation endless. Etched eternal. Riley's life wove theirs richer. Theo's toddles. Second child en route. Visits frequent. Brownstone ever open. Vivian. 80. Memoir published Unearthed Empire. Bestseller bridging worlds. Elizabeth retired soft consulting selective. Novels flowing. Sophia Dean Emerita. Legacy lectures. Intimacy autumnal. Walks hand in hand. Sunsets savored. Beds warm with whispers. One final spring. Family reunion Montana. Big skies binding. Vivian. Frail but full. Ranch porch rocking. I controlled narratives once. Yours? Masterpiece. Summer's end. Her passing gentle. Sunset gilding. Riley's eulogy. She learned to let love lead. Fall mourned. Then mended. Memorial verve spread. Clara's fox motif. Winter healed. Theo's snow angels. Second niece arrival. 2049. Elizabeth and Sophia's vow renewal courthouse echo. Riley officiating. Kids flower tossing. Vows updated. Through burials and blooms. Forever. As decades layered. Their story lingered, not in headlines. But heartbeats. Love's layered. Secrets sown as seeds. Harvesting grace. A narrative human. Haunting. Whole.